With remarkably stable group head temperatures, increased boiler capacity, and a boost of steam power, one of the most popular premium grade entry-level true espresso machines of all time just got its most exciting update yet. Ladies and gentlemen, the brass age is here. Hey espresso lovers, Mark here from Whole Latte Love with the Gaggia Classic Pro E24. Now, if you're a fan of the channel, you know I've been working with the Gaggia Classic line for over a decade, and it's been my go-to recommendation as the most capable, best value, premium entry-level espresso machine. Why? Well, there's just nothing else at this price using commercial size components and build quality. You know, whether you're upgrading from a low-cost espresso maker made with a fair share of plastic or looking for a superior quality product to start a home espresso journey, you really can't beat the value of the Gaggia Classic. And the latest version, the Pro E24, it's worth getting excited about. Like its predecessors, the Pro E24 is designed and built by hand in the hillside town of Gaggia, Montano, Italy. It's a premium entry-level espresso machine featuring a 58mm portafilter, a 3-way solenoid valve, 9-bar brewing pressure, and a single-piece steel frame. Now, stick around and I'll take you through the ins and outs of this machine. I'll cover the all-new brass boiler, talk about the performance upgrades it makes possible, show you a repeatable method for maintaining consistent brew temperatures of 200 degrees Fahrenheit and how to manipulate those. Plus, share the results of our performance testing for brew temperature accuracy using a unique device specially engineered to give accurate in-puck temperature readings. Of course, I'll show test results for brew pressure and milk steaming performance, cover the benefits of the brass boiler versus espresso makers using thermo blocks to heat brew water, and we'll pop the hood for a look at the internal components. So let's get started. The Gaggia Classic Pro E24 features impressive build quality and commercial grade features you don't often see on machines at this price point. Start with a commercial standard 58mm portafilter. It weighs in at about 1 pound and it's made of stainless steel, much heavier than what you get with appliance grade espresso makers. And because it's commercial size, it's compatible with a whole suite of pro brewing accessories like precision filter baskets, tampers, and puck prep tools to upgrade your brewing experience. The E24 comes with standard non-pressurized single and double shot filter baskets to make the best espresso from whole beans ground fresh right before brewing. It also includes a pressurized basket for brewing pre-ground coffee intended for making espresso, so you can get into home espresso without buying a grinder. But if you want the best, of course you're gonna wanna grind those beans fresh. If you need a grinder, watch the accessories chapter later in this video for a good pairing. Other features include a 3-way solenoid valve for dried knockable coffee pucks, standard 9-bar OPV for proper brew pressure, and there's not much plastic on this machine. It's built to last. Plus, we handle warranty and out-of-warranty repairs and provide free lifetime customer support. Our technicians routinely see 15-year-old classics still in perfectly good working condition, a quick tune-up or descaling, and they're good to go. Plus, we've got tons of support videos to help you get the most out of your machine. Now, you can certainly find espresso makers that are cheaper, but you're sacrificing build and brew quality. They're made with a lot of plastic and use thermoblock boilers that just can't compete with a solid brass boiler mounted directly to a brass group head for temperature stability. And when a cheap espresso maker fails, repairs, well, you know, they can be difficult, impossible, or they're just not going to make financial sense. The Classic has high repairability scores. It's easy to work on. Even from home, you can do any repairs yourself without having to send it in for service. Parts are readily available and affordable. You know, at the end of the day, the Classic is an easy-to-use, reliable machine at an attractive price. There really isn't a better value out there. If you're just getting started with home espresso, I've linked a video down in the description that takes you step by step through starting up the Classic and making your first drinks. So why choose a machine with a real heavyweight boiler and group head? Well, it's all about temperature, and thermo block boilers like this that heat water as needed, yet they have some shortcomings. To make good espresso, brew water needs to be at a consistent and predictable temperature. For best flavor, the espresso brewing range is 195 to 205 Fahrenheit, the cooler end for dark roast and the hotter end for lighter roast. So right around 200 is what you want for a medium roast. Cheaper espresso makers use thermoblock boilers, which heat water as needed, usually deep in the machine, far away from where the coffee is brewed. That setup transfers little or no heat to piping and brewing components like the group head and portafilter. Now here's a look at a thermoblock boiler typical of appliance-grade espresso makers. It heats small amounts of water on demand. As heated water is piped to and comes in contact with brewing components, it can fall below optimal brewing temperatures. In other cases, it may be overheated in the thermoblock in an attempt to overcome cool temperatures of components on its path to the coffee. At the end of the day, heating small amounts of water to precise temperatures when it comes into contact with a coffee is difficult. Very easy for it to be too hot and pull bitter over extracted espresso, or too cold and pull sour under extracted shots. Beyond that, it's difficult to modify brew temps to suit the coffee you're using. Now, contrast that with the E24's boiler group and portafilter. In total, about 3 pounds of brass and near a pound of stainless steel here. That's a lot of thermal mass heated to near brew temperature. All that heavy metal modifies water temperatures on the coffee, making it more consistent and predictable than what is possible with heat-on-demand systems with cold and or low thermal mass components in the delivery chain. To demonstrate this, I recently spent some time testing in-puck temperatures measured every second during actual extractions on the Classic E24. To do it, I mounted a K-type thermocouple sensor through the bottom and into the center of a filter basket so I could log the temperature in the coffee while pulling a standard 1:2 ratio shot. I use a stock double shot basket with a 16-gram dose. Prior to the extraction, I did a 5-second flush and waited for the brew ready light to come back on. Now, I'm going to play the whole test here for you in real time. That flush is a simple technique used to produce consistent and predictable brew temps, and I'll show you exactly how to do that later in this video. Temperatures are recorded once per second, and I'll have that graph after this real-time view. I ran the extraction for 30 seconds, and again, it was dialed into a 1:2 ratio, producing about 32 grams in my cup from the 16 grams of ground coffee. Now, if you noticed, once up to temp, it was very stable and just dropping a bit there at the end. Here's the graph of the extraction showing the temps over time for the Classic. Once it's up to temp at 10 seconds in at 200 in the coffee, it's very stable with a total variance of about 2 degrees Fahrenheit until the shot ends at 200. That's really, really good. I've done some testing on machines with on-demand brew water heating, and so far nothing comes close to the stability for temps within the coffee during a real extraction. By far, the most exciting feature of the Classic Pro 24 is that new boiler. It's all brass, baby. Now, here's a chart comparing the specs of the new brass boiler to the old aluminum one. Now, all sorts of good come with this change. The brass upper section is 59% heavier. Internal volume is up by 26%. Density is more than 200% higher, and energy stored is up by 27%. With more energy stored and the same 1300 watts doing the heating, cold start to brew ready light on time increased by about 20 seconds. Now, to be clear, those times aren't when you can start pulling shots. You'll want around 10 minutes with a portafilter in the group to fully warm everything up. But here's the bottom line. The brass with more mass and water volume bumps up temperature stability, brewing capacity, and steam reserves. And coming up, I'll share how to take advantage of all that with a simple workflow for 200-degree Fahrenheit brew temperatures, plus how to easily modify those to get the best out of coffees without paying the high price of a machine using PID temperature control. To get an idea of the difference in temperature cycling with the new brass boiler, I cold started a brass boiler classic on the left and on the right one with an aluminum boiler. Now, I sped this up a lot, but notice the aluminum boiler cycles more frequently. When the brew ready light is off, the boiler is heating. Here's a graph showing those heating cycles for 5 minutes from a cold start. It's a little easier to see here. So you've got an extra 20 seconds for the initial heating cycle, but after that, with more thermal mass, the brass boiler maintains a brew ready temperature for longer periods of time, with the 4 heating cycles over 5 minutes compared to 7 cycles for the aluminum boiler. You know, when brass is mentioned, it's inevitable someone is going to ask about lead. To get ahead of that, the CW510L brass used for the boiler is fully compliant with the California Health and Safety Code 1953 and with Vermont Act 193 concerning lead in potable water systems. These regulations are more strict than the FDA code, so you can be quite certain the boiler is safe to use. Brass boilers and other components of this type are used in machines from many manufacturers, and all are perfectly safe. The Gaggia Classic Pro E24 uses thermostats on the brass boiler to control brew water temperature. While these don't have the precision of PID temperature control on more expensive machines, here's that simple technique to get a brew temperature of about 200 Fahrenheit every time. That's going to be perfect for a medium roast coffee. Plus, with slight modifications, you can adjust it higher or lower for best results from lighter or darker roast coffees. So to get those solid and predictable temps, first warm up your machine with a portafilter in the group for 10 minutes. Then remove the portafilter and press the brew switch. After 5 to 7 seconds, turn off the brew switch to stop the flush. After about 20 to 30 seconds, the brew ready light will turn off. Then after a short wait, typically 15 to 20 seconds, the brew light will come back on. When it does, start your extraction. Now, as we saw earlier in this video and in repeated testing, this technique produces an average brew temp within about a degree of 200. Coming up in test results, another graph of temperatures during a simulated extraction as measured using a TPD test device. The approximate 40 seconds you have between the flush and the brew light turning back on, yeah, that's going to be the perfect time to grind your coffee and prep your portafilter. To modify temps a bit, you can go a little cooler than 200 for a darker roast with a short flush of a couple seconds right before attaching the portafilter. To go a little hotter for a lighter roast, turn on the steam switch for a few seconds, then turn it off, attach the portafilter, and start the extraction. Now, the Classic Pro 24 is not a PID machine and, of course, doesn't carry a PID price, but combine this technique with a little practice, and it's easy to quickly modify to get a brew temperature appropriate for your roast level. For testing, I've got our results for brew temperatures and pressure using a TPD test device. I'll check milk frothing times and compare results of the aluminum boiler to the brass one. As we just saw, it's easy to get a consistent brew temperature on the Classic Pro E24 using the same technique. Here's a look at brew temperatures through a simulated extraction using a method based on the Specialty Coffee Association testing spec. So I did the 5 to 7 second flush, then waited for the brew ready light to cycle, attached the TPD, and started the test. Now we disregard the first 10 seconds of temperatures as pressure rises to 9 bar and temperatures in the test device equalize. At 10 seconds, the temp is 200.3 degrees, and for the next 10, it's within about a degree of 200. With about 9 bar of pressure, we finish at 28 seconds at about 198. Here's a graph of those results. The average from 10 seconds to the end at 28 seconds was 199.4 degrees. That's excellent consistency for a single boiler machine. And follow the method I demoed earlier and used here, and you can get it too every time. Like all single boiler machines, there's going to be a wait for steam as the machine heats up from brew temperature to produce it. To assess steaming time, I push in the steam switch and wait for the steam ready light to come on. That takes about 60 seconds. Now you can always start steaming well before that steam ready light comes on, as soon as 20 seconds after flipping the switch. Depending on how long you wait, you may have a little less steam power, which actually can be beneficial, especially if you are newer and learning manual milk frothing. My standard frothing test is based on the SCA method of frothing 5 ounces of milk, about 148 grams, to a temperature above 140 Fahrenheit. I purge the wand and set the pitcher on a platform so frothing could be done hands-free. Starting milk temp was 42 degrees. There's good action in the pitcher there, and the roll is more vigorous than what you get from thermoblock and on-demand boilers. So you have what you need to produce fine and uniformly textured milk. If you position the tip slightly below the milk surface and give it a little angle, it's possible to froth the latte or quality hands-free. I had the alarm set to 135 on the thermometer to make up for the lag in temp readings. That went off at 24 seconds and finished milk temp hit 142 degrees. It was a 25% increase in performance for the new brass boiler compared to the aluminum, so milk frothing is faster, and with the extra power, creating a finer froth with a more uniform texture is easier than ever and will be truly appreciated by aspiring latte artists. All right, I've got Todd with me. We've got the top off the E24 so we can take a look inside. Todd, take it away.
Sounds good. Well, the key thing we already know about here is the brass boiler. Now, the brass boiler here is a nice upgrade. It's got, like the other one, it has 2 heating elements. One's on this side, one's on this side. They're embedded into the brass itself. They don't come in contact with water, so you won't have a scale issue causing the heating elements to go bad.
And hard to burn them out too, right?
Yep, they just last.
They just last, okay.
There's your
steam thermostat?
Yep, and down over here we have our brew thermostat down there.
Okay.
Over here is our high limit. If something happens that it does overheat, there's an internal fuse there that'll melt.
Okay.
Shut it off. Here's your OPV. This is what controls your brew pressure at 9 bar. Mm-hmm. Then back here, here's your power coming in, or your plug on the other side. And down below here is another key feature, is a 3-way solenoid valve. That's found on all commercial machines. That relieves the pressure off the coffee when you're done brewing. Gives you a nice dry puck.
Nice dry puck. Okay, so if we take a look around front then.
Yep.
So this is the decompression duct. That's where that's going to exhaust, right, out of that, out of our solenoid valve.
Yep, it releases the pressure off the coffee.
Down into the drip tray here.
Through that hole. Then
we have the reservoir out so we can see the tubes here.
Yep. This tube with a cut on it, that is your water intake to your pump. And this one here is water coming back from the OPV. So you will see water coming out of this sometimes.
But it goes right into the reservoir.
In the reservoir, and that's perfectly normal.
Okay, then we do it, like I said, have the top off. You can remove the reservoir as we've done over here, or you can fill it right through the top because this would sit on top of here and go down into your reservoir to fill it up.
Yep. And on the front, you have these really high quality snap acting switches, which Gaggia's always used on the Gaggia Classic. And these are still there.
All right, Todd, thanks so much for taking us through the machine.
Thanks for having me.
The Gaggia Classic Pro E24 comes out of the box with just about everything you need to brew excellent espresso at home. Well, except for the espresso itself. You get commercial, standard, single, and double shot baskets, and a pressurized filter basket for use with pre-ground coffee or ESE pods. That means you can begin your journey as a home barista without needing to buy a grinder, at least not yet. It also comes with a commercial grade 58mm stainless steel portafilter, coffee scoop, tamper, and the diffuser pin to use with the pressurized basket. If you're new to home espresso, be sure and check the description for a link to our video that takes you step by step through starting up the Gaggia Classic Pro E24 and making your first drinks. Also check our support site for the Classic. It's loaded with videos on how to get the most out of and maintain your machine. Because the Classic E24 comes with a pressurized basket, you can use pre-ground coffee labeled for espresso use and get started without a grinder. But for the best espresso, you're gonna wanna grind those whole beans fresh right before brewing. For those serious about espresso quality, I recommend a flat burr grinder with a minimum burr size of 50 millimeters. Gaggia's own MDF55 pairs well with the Classic and can serve prosumer level machines if you upgrade in the years to come. It's a very quiet grinder with 2-time presets for dosing consistency and manual grinding. I linked a video down in the description if you'd like to learn more about Gaggia's MDF55. Because the Classic Pro E24 uses standard commercial size components, it's easy to upgrade with pro brewing accessories like precision filter baskets, a bottomless portafilter, and more. The one thing you're probably going to want to upgrade is the included plastic tamper. It could get you by and is all you need if using pre-ground coffee, but you'll have a better experience and results with a heavier one. Personally, I like the Vitamin Precision tampers. Perfectly sized, and I love the weight and thickness. Available in a range of gorgeous woods, plus there are other matching components and accessories to elevate the aesthetic of your espresso setup. For great tasting coffee and to prevent scale deposits, you'll want to treat water to reduce calcium concentration and remove chlorination. We recommend solutions from BWT Water and More. When used as directed, their Best Cup in Reservoir Plum Filter, Best Save in Reservoir Pad Filter, and Aqualizer Pitcher all prevent scale formation and include activated carbon for removal of chlorination and other chemicals. If you choose not to filter water to prevent scale deposits, be sure to descale your machine regularly. Gaggia Descaler is a good option for that. In typical use with moderately hard water, you should probably descale your machine about every 3 to 4 months. In other maintenance, I highly recommend picking up a backflush disc and some Cafizza cleaner so you can keep your brewing components clean and coffee tasting great. You know, the Gaggia Classic has been the go-to machine for affordable, quality, in-home espresso brewing for decades. The Pro E24 has the build quality Gaggia diehards love and kicks things up a notch with the all-brass boiler. This is the most powerful and stable the Classic has ever been, solidifying its rank as the absolute best value in premium entry-level home espresso machines. Now, if you have questions on the Gaggia Classic E24 or anything coffee, use those comments and I'd be happy to get you a detailed answer. Now, one question I'm anticipating a lot of folks will have is, can I buy a brass boiler and put it in? The answer, you'll be glad to hear, is yes, you can. Coming soon. We expect they'll be available near the end of 2024. More info on that, including how-to videos for replacing the boiler, coming up, so keep your eyes peeled. I'm Mark. Thanks for watching, and if you love coffee and espresso as much as I do, or you'll want to know when those classic brass boilers will be available, be sure and subscribe to the channel and come back soon for more of the best on everything coffee, brought to you by Latte Love.